your breaking news and weather authority, this is 13 Wham News Midday in high definition.
New at midday, Sabres owner Terry and Kim Pegula's bid to buy the Buffalo Bills is nearly a done deal. Thanks for joining us. No official announcement has been made yet, but about 2 hours ago, we learned that Terry and Kim Pegula's bid to buy the Bills was approved. 13 Web's Jennifer Johnson is in the newsroom with details on this very big deal. Jen?
Yeah, it sure is. Norma, the Pegula's bid has been tentatively approved by members of late owner Ralph Wilson Jr.'s estate. That purchase price, according to the Buffalo News, believed to be in the neighborhood of $1 billion. Just yesterday, they were one of 3 ownership groups who submitted a formal bid and were considered frontrunners in that bidding process. Other offers included one by real estate developer Donald Trump, another from a Toronto-based group led by singer John Bon Jovi. There had also been speculation 2 additional bids may have been on the table, one from former Sabres owner Tom Golisano, another from investor Jeffrey Gunlock. Ralph Wilson Jr., who died back in March, originally purchased the franchise in 1960 for $25,000. Again, the price tag of this deal said to be $1 billion. The next step in all of this is for the estate to get initial approval from the NFL owners. Their next scheduled meeting is coming up October 7th and 8th in Manhattan, and that could come by the end of the week, as early maybe as later today. So Norma, news still breaking on this, probably later today. Back to you.
From your breaking news and weather authority, this is 13 Wham News at 5 in high definition.
54 years after Ralph Wilson bought the Buffalo Bills for just $25,000, his family has sold the team. The new owners, the Pegulas, are reportedly paying more than $1 billion, an NFL record. And for most Bills fans, the sale price is less important than who the new owner will be.
And most had been rooting for the Pegulas, who already own the Buffalo Sabres and are seen as being committed to keeping the team in Buffalo. Terry Pegula backed that up today, saying our interest in owning the Bills has everything to do with the people of Western New York and our passion for football. He goes on to say, if awarded final approval, we will be driven to achieve a singular goal: to win a Super Bowl for our fans.
Just what everybody wants to hear. Mike Catalana here now. So is that final approval a done deal?
I think people would be stunned around the league if they don't get approval from the owners, because they've been vetted already. Until February of 2011, very few, if any, Buffalo sports fans knew the names of Terry and Kim Pegula. In 3+ years, the Pegulas have become the savior of big-time sports in Western New York. Terry Pegula is actually a Pennsylvania native, but was an unapologetic Sabres fan when he bought the team from Rochester's Tom Golisano in 2011. He prided himself on bringing back the history of the Sabres franchise on and off the ice, but that was not his only hockey purchase. A few months later, Pegula officially became the owner of the Rochester Americans when he bought that team, and currently owns them with his wife, Kim. Now, Toby Motika has been in Orchard Park all day today with the latest on how this deal came together. Toby?
Yeah, Mike, there's been a lot of speculation for a lot of months now when it comes to this story. The Pegulas have been rumored to be the front runners in the purchase of the Buffalo Bills for a long time, ahead, of course, of the Bon Jovi group, as well as Donald Trump. But now we know, of course, it's no longer a rumor, and Terry Pegula and his wife Kim are the winners for a reported $1.4 billion. Just an insane amount of money. Now, this happened quickly. Final bids had to be submitted yesterday late afternoon, and of course this morning we wake up, have a cup of coffee, and guess what? We know who the next owners of the Buffalo Bills will likely be. Now, I spoke with Buffalo News reporter Tim Graham, who's been out in front of this story for months now and helped break the news this morning. And he explains why this happened so quickly, as well as what's next for the Pegulas.
It went down faster than anybody expected it to, and that's not just the fans or the media, but the people who are involved in the process. Once they started submitting their bids yesterday, there was a belief that there was going to be a little bit of time, but even before midnight on Monday night, things were happening, and they were already headed in a direction that seemed inevitable, and Terry Pegula was going to be the next owner of the Buffalo Bills.
Kim Pegula, early word seems to be that she may have a significant role with this team. How significant do you think it can be?
You know, Kim Pegula is going to be calling some shots. She is going to be in those owners' meetings and speaking up on behalf of the Buffalo Bills. And I think that's good for the NFL, not only to have a female owner who's highly involved, like she probably will be, but also a minority female owner. To have a woman in a position of power within the league, I think is great timing for the NFL to welcome the Pegulas into the fold.
Now all is quiet here at One Bills Drive today, but the team will be back tomorrow, of course, for practice as they prepare for the Miami Dolphins. But we were able to hear from one Buffalo Bills player on the sale today. We'll hear from him coming up a little bit later at 6 o'clock.
All right, Toby, hang in there. We'll see what happens, and we'll talk more about what this means to the organization coming up at 5:30.
All right, Mike, thanks.
Yep.
And now to the fans. To say the least, they are relieved. A new owner met the possibility of losing the team altogether. Now that won't happen, and the celebrating has begun.
It's excellent news. We're thrilled, and poor Bon Jovi and poor Donald Trump, but, you know, that's the way it goes.
I'm excited. It means that the Bills get to stay in Buffalo. It means I get to go to more games with my friends, get to tailgate and have a lot of fun. So, yeah, I'm really happy about it.
And reaction from controlling owner of the team, Mary Wilson. She said, quote, Ralph would have been pleased with the sale of the team to the Terry Pegula family. Our hope is that this great franchise brings them as much excitement and joy as it did for Ralph, and that they bring home a Super Bowl championship for Bills fans everywhere.
From your breaking news and weather authority, this is 13 Wham News at 5:30 in high definition.
The big news today, the Bills will stay in Buffalo, and thousands of fans are celebrating that news. Terry and Kim Pegula, who already own the Buffalo Sabres, are buying the Bills.
And the Pegulas were definitely the fan favorite, given their deep pockets, their devotion to Western New York. Mike Catalana joins us now. One of the things we were just talking about was the stadium.
Yeah, everyone wants to know, has he said where he prefers a stadium to be?
There has been nothing public from Terry Pegula about a stadium. The NFL has said they believe Buffalo needs a new stadium going forward. But again, Terry Pegula has not said that. Now, Terry Pegula is very aware that the NFL has said this. But one thing you guys need to keep in mind, Terry Pegula basically has rebuilt downtown Buffalo in the Harbor Center, certainly where he has the HSBC, or now the First Niagara Center in Buffalo. My belief is if he does want a new stadium, it's going to be in downtown Buffalo, but he has not said a word yet publicly.
That would make sense. A lot of people will say, geez, the Sabres haven't done very well since he bought them, but he has laid the groundwork for future success there. He was a little slow to fire the management of the Sabres and bring in his own. What happens with the Bills in terms of the Russ Brandon and other managers?
You make a very good point with that, because he did not make those moves. But keep in mind, the people in charge in Buffalo, Darcy Regier and Lindy Ruff, had been there for years, and Terry Pegula came in as a Sabres fan. He kept them in place, maybe a little more with his heart than his head, and eventually had to make a move. I think the leash is somewhat short in the NFL because that's the way they operate. For now, as Doug Marrone said, win games like they did on Sunday, and you'll be fine. And that's what he has said in the past.
And the next thing that needs to happen is from the NFL?
Yeah, the NFL ownership has to approve. Now, keep this also in mind. Believe me, the Pegulas have been vetted by the NFL. This is, I'll say, slightly more than a formality, because it's 31 other owners who have to vote. It's going to happen in October. It is believed that they will be approved. The trust with Mary Wilson wanted something to go through quickly. This went through quickly. It would be stunning if the Pegulas were not approved right away when the owners vote.
This funny side note from Kelly Pegula, the daughter of Terry and Kim. Last night she tweets out, I started crying when I found out last night. My dad goes, you're crying, and I'm broke.
His version of broke is probably a little different than ours.
Keep in mind, 1 point whatever billion, and he's just fine on the other end.
He's got a few billion left.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Well, two of the other contenders to buy the Bills are offering their congratulations. Rock star John Bon Jovi said, quote, we wish Terry and Kim Pegula all the best as they continue the legacy and tradition of the Buffalo Bills and the Wilson family. And from Donald Trump, quote, a large part of the reason for my bid was to ensure that the team remained in Buffalo. I would like to congratulate the Pegula family on what will be, I'm sure, a wonderful purchase.
From your breaking news and weather authority, this is 13 Wham News at 6 in high definition.
A little relieved because now, like I said, I don't have to make road trips to Toronto to go watch my team play.
Yeah, fans rejoice. A deal announced today for a new Buffalo Bills owner. And as you heard, it was indeed the news most fans are hoping for. 54 years after Ralph Wilson Jr. bought the Buffalo Bills, family selling the team to Buffalo Sabres owners Terry and Kim Pegula, keeping the team in Western New York. Mike, we know that is so important to so many fans that we just heard from.
It's what they've been waiting for. You know, Don, we haven't said this very often in the past, well, decade. It's been a good month to be a Bills fan. The great news that Jim Kelly at the moment is cancer-free. On the field, that stunning win over the Bears, and now this. No more worries about Toronto, Los Angeles, or any other place that wants an NFL team. The Bills are staying. A statement today from Terry Pegula talking about his interest in owning the Bills, talking about the dedication of the fans, and saying it's gratifying to reassure fans of these two franchises so important to our region. Yes, this is what you want to hear, that they are here to stay. Pegula has been the owner of the Buffalo Sabres since 2011. He and his wife, Kim, who is from Fairport, also own the Rochester Americans. Now they are the Bills owners. It is pending league approval, and that is expected to come, there's Kim Pegula, in the next month. All to talk now about is what's going on in Orchard Park at One Bills Drive. For that, let's go up to Toby Matika, who's been there all day checking out things in Orchard Park. Toby?
Mike, all is actually very quiet here at One Bills Drive today, and that's because the team has the day off. They'll return to practice here in Orchard Park tomorrow. But the Bills did release a statement today, and that included a statement from Mary Wilson. Here is that statement from Mary Wilson. Quote, "This is a very important day in the history of the Buffalo Bills franchise. Ralph brought professional football to Buffalo in 1959, and it was his life's passion. He loved his team, and he cherished the fans, and his legacy will remain for all time. Ralph would have been pleased with the sale of the team to the Terry Pegula family, who has been so committed to Buffalo and the Western New York region." Now, like we said, the Bills will be back here to practice tomorrow, but we did hear from tight end Lee Smith today. He says this is all very exciting news, but his focus is probably where the fans want it to be, on the big game this weekend.
Obviously, all we're worried about inside the building is the Miami Dolphins right now. You know, it's obviously exciting for the community. You know, I'm not sure if it's set in stone yet, but obviously Mr. Pegula's a Buffalo guy. So, you know, anything that brings excitement to the Buffalo Bills, we enjoy. But at the same time, you know, as players, we're worried about the Dolphins and beating Miami this week.
Now, about that Miami game, about this Buffalo Bills team, new ownership often brings changes with it to personnel. We're going to talk about what might be in store for this Bills franchise coming up later in sports. Mike.
All right, Toby, hang in there. One of those things, Don, could be the possibility of changes. Coach, general manager down the line. We'll talk about that in a few minutes.
All right. Hey, thank you, Mike.
Now, 13 Wham Sports.
All that is left for Terry and Kim Pegula to officially become the owners of the Bills is approval of the other 31 owners in the league. That is expected to be a formality next month. When that happens, what happens on the field for the Bills? Let's go to Toby Matika live in Orchard Park. The Bills had the day off today, but Toby's talking about what it could mean. Toby?
Mike, new ownership often brings with it new personnel. But let's flash back to when the Pegulas bought the Sabres. It actually took them a couple of years to start making any real major changes in the front office there, talking namely, of course, about Lindy Ruff and Darcy Regier. But those guys had been with that team for a number of years, and that's certainly not the case with this Buffalo Bills team. So what exactly does the future hold for the Bills brass now? Let's talk about head coach Doug Marrone first. Usually, when it comes to the head coach, if you win, you stick around. And Doug Marrone is certainly off to a good start this year at 1-0, but there's still a lot of season left. And how about general manager Doug Whaley? The second-year man has made a lot of bold moves during his time in Buffalo so far, drafting quarterback E.J. Manuel in 2013, and then, of course, trading next year's first-round pick to go up and get Sammy Watkins this season. Now, like you said, Mike, the Bills have the day off today, but they'll be back here for practice tomorrow. They have a very big game coming up on Sunday, but of course everyone's going to want to hear what they have to say regarding these moves. You bet we'll be back up here in Orchard Park tomorrow to find out. Mike?
Yeah, they'll be talking about that tomorrow. All right, Toby. Meanwhile, as he says, the rest of the Bills will be there for practice tomorrow to get ready for the Dolphins. You know, this defense has shown it's improved. The vets have seen it coming. They just want to see more.
You know, things on paper can look good, but, you know, we have to make it happen out on the field. And, you know, we've added some good players over the last few years, and I think, you know, not just good players, but, you know, good guys, good locker room guys, good leaders, and that can spill over to your whole team.
Other news now, it's the deal many Bills fans have been waiting and hoping for. An agreement is in place to sell the team to Buffalo Sabres owner Terry Pegula. He reportedly is shelling out $1.4 billion for the Bills, the highest price in NFL history. Sports director Mike Catalana here now with what needs to happen next.
Well, the first thing that's got to happen, Ginny, is that he has to get approval by the league owners. There are 31 other voters in the league that own teams, and they will vote at the league meetings, which come up next month. It is expected that Terry Pegula will fly through and become the new owner of the Buffalo Bills. Now, Terry Pegula hasn't made any other comments about something else we were going to talk about, which is a new stadium. And Erie County's executive said in his dealings with Pegula, he hasn't talked about a new stadium, Ginny, but I would say there is always the possibility that could come in the future. It's just something that he hasn't talked about now because he's remained focused on trying to get the team. The NFL has said they believe the Bills need a new stadium. But Terry Pegula hasn't said that yet. Then the other question is, what about the players? You know, the players have been, well, the players have been quiet about this up to this point because up to this point they've said there's nothing we can focus on. Tomorrow we're going to be at practice. Tomorrow we'll get to hear from many of the players because they now have a face. They now have a person. They now have a name that they know will be their owner at some point.
And they know how he runs a team.
Yes, because they've seen what he's done with the Buffalo Sabres. But I think to a lot of them, it's also the type of thing that they know he is a Buffalo guy, and they're not worried about that. But at the same time, jobs are always on the line, and you want to impress the new boss, and they'll get their first chance, whether he's official or not, coming up Sunday when they play the Dolphins.
They're off to a good start.
1-0. That's impressive, right?
All right. Thank you, Mike. Well, as you know, the Bills fans have not sat quietly on the sidelines during this transaction. Tonight, 13 Wham's Rachel Glazer found out how fans feel now that a buyer has been selected. Rachel?
Well, Denny, it's definitely a huge load, a weight that's been lifted from their shoulders. Now that they know the fate of their team, the fans, and they think the players as well can all get back to focusing on football in Buffalo. Ashley Petty was born a Bills fan, and after years of uncertainty, she can finally breathe a sigh of relief.
I saw the news and I just cried. I couldn't believe it. I'm so happy that the Bills are going to stay in Western New York. It's a huge deal.
A historic deal. The new owners, Terry and Kim Pegula, are reportedly paying more than $1 billion to keep the team in Buffalo.
John DeTulio Show.
One excited fan after the other called in to talk about the Pegula family, and fans are confident the team is in good hands.
He is the white knight. I don't want to use the word Messiah, but Terry Pegula could walk on water from Buffalo to Rochester.
A big win for all of Western New York. John DeTulio says this is really a reason to celebrate. The best news since the team went to the playoffs in 1999.
I opened the show by saying it is as if the Bills won the Super Bowl today, and I really mean that.
Much more than a football team, the importance of the Bills in Western New York goes beyond economics and the NFL.
It's something that brings us together on the weekends, and we can all share in it together, win, lose, draw, whatever. We're all going to...
Filled with tears of joy, it was an emotional day for Bills fans.
This is a team that's only had one owner and one home. And now they're going to have a second owner, but they're always going to be in Buffalo.
For the team, it could be a new beginning. But for fans, it's stability, reassurance that the next generation of fans will have a team to cheer for right in the city where their love first started.
That's an experience you won't be able to replicate ever. So the fact that I can have kids one day and bring them to see an NFL game with the Buffalo Bills playing in it is just a huge relief.
NFL owners won't meet until next month, so some things are still uncertain, but fans say they are confident, and for now, they just plan to celebrate. In the newsroom, I'm Rachel Glazer.